Hi, my name is Kevin Kirkland, and I'm an instructor in the Music Therapy Bachelor's program at Capilano University in North Vancouver. And today, really thrilled to have with me former music therapy student Tinaya Entz, who is working at St. Paul's Hospital in Saskatoon. Welcome.
Thanks, Kevin. It's great to be here.
Good to have you here. Maybe I should ask you, what led you into choosing music therapy as a career?
Well, that's a bit of a long story, so I'll give you the abridged version. But essentially, when I was, I had graduated from high school and I really didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I loved music and I loved helping people. And so I tried my hand at teaching music lessons, and I just did not enjoy it. And then I didn't want to be a performer. So I thought, you know what, I will just, I'll look at helping professions. So counseling, nursing, those sorts of things. And none of those were fitting either. So I was having a hard time. And one day I was expressing all this to a friend of mine. It was actually one of my cousins at a family gathering. And he said, well, have you ever considered music therapy? And I had never heard of it before. My mid-20s, and was like, oh my gosh, that's a thing? I could do that? And so it was after that conversation, I was absolutely sold. I volunteered with a music therapist here in Saskatoon just to see if I liked it, if it really was my thing. And every step that I took was just confirmation that this is what fit. And I applied to Capilano. But yeah, since that conversation with my cousin, that is what I wanted to do. It fit.
That's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're at St. Paul's. Do you want to talk a bit about what your work is like there?
Sure. So I showed up at St. Paul's 2 years ago as an intern. And I work with the Healing Arts program. Our program is run through the Hospital Foundation as part of the mission office in the hospital. It's a Catholic facility. And the Healing Arts program has an artist in residence, a writer in residence, and now 2 music therapists. And our job is to use the arts to support the needs of patients and families and staff within the hospital. Now, my job has just been added. We put in a grant application with the foundation to expand the Healing Arts program to include a community music therapist. And so that is what my role is. So I work with, we have a large population of patients coming from all over the province for hemodialysis treatments. We have the province's largest hemodialysis unit. So a lot of my work is spent working with those people who've come from all over the place. They come 3 times a week, maybe more, for up to 4 hours at a time to just sit and have their blood filtered. And that there's a lot that happens in people's minds in those 4 hours. It's terribly boring, it's terribly lonely, and it's a terminal diagnosis. So this is what is keeping them alive, and so there's a lot of complex grief. And so a huge part of my work is coming alongside those people and supporting them in whatever those needs are in that space using music. So a lot of times it's just to provide a sense of fun and normalcy to the experience. It's also to, help with some of that processing, some of that facing end of life, making hard decisions, And then also it's just a mixed bag of people. So there's addictions work that comes into that, because people's kidneys fail for all sorts of reasons, right? So there's just so many different walks of life that come into the unit. So then that's the main portion of my job. And then the other piece is to partner with community organizations in the neighborhood that St. Paul's is in. So for people who aren't familiar with St. Paul's, we're an inner city hospital. So, you know, the safe consumption site is right next door, and the HIV hospice is like just behind our building. All of like the homeless and addictions and those services are all within a few blocks of us, and as such we've got quite a different role within the community than a hospital typically would have. And so the desire for part of my position would be to reach out. Instead of waiting for people to come in acute crisis to us, then how about we reach out and provide health and wellness services beyond our walls before people get here, knowing that they probably have been here or will be here, or, you know, that sort of a thing. So I do groups in the community. So right now I have a weekly group in, it's a hospice and transitional care home for people who are living with HIV. And that's a pretty good time. We have a good time. And now I'm looking into and approaching other community organizations to see where music therapy could fit in to that.
And as you know, at Capilano University, the program and the university itself, they're embracing the desire and the struggle to decolonize and indigenize the program and healthcare and music therapy. And I'm wondering how that intersects with you personally and professionally.
I would say that my explorations of this particular topic extended before my time at Capilano, but really gained traction while I was in the program, as I learned more about music therapy and like working interculturally with music therapy. As an Indigenous person myself, I already brought those, I guess, values and explorations to my learning. And so my time at CAP provided the space that I needed to really build a foundation where it was like, okay, how do I take this and these values that I've learned from my family and bring them in to music therapy practice? And then I arrived in Saskatoon to actually do the work. And the other piece of working in an inner city hospital in central Saskatchewan is that the Indigenous population is very high. And a lot of them are my friends, a lot of them are my family. Like, I can't go a day without running into somebody that I know or am related to. And I think the hospital, just in the position that it's in within the community, is facing this exact question of how do we decolonize healthcare? How do we create a culturally sensitive and safe space? Because historically, healthcare hasn't been that for Indigenous people. And so I feel like the hospital itself is on the cutting edge of this conversation. And then hiring me is a step in their process, which is pretty cool to be part of. So there's that at the organizational level, where they are hiring professionals with a knowledge of and lived experience of Indigenous ways of being, and funding that and valuing that as part of their organizational culture. And then at a personal level, I am learning so much about the value of people in context. I feel like one of the big things that I've noticed in the biomedical model of care is that, each person is their individual package, and, we work with the individual package. Whereas health and well-being are informed by people's contexts. There's their relational contexts with their own bodies, with their own minds, like with themselves, with their families, with their society, with their government, with their healthcare. Like, people have to be treated in context, which is something that, has been kind of missing from modern Western health care. So a huge part of my approach to music therapy has been, what is their context? And what relationships have been damaged in where they're at in life? Mm. And how can I offer music experiences that help explore and help to, maybe make the first steps in mending that brokenness? For some, their primary brokenness is the relationship with their body, and figuring out that relationship because it has drastically changed all of a sudden. Some of them, it's with their family. Some, it's with the healthcare system they're experiencing, right? That is probably one of the main ways that I've been incorporating my kind of Indigenous ways of knowing into my work. And then there's the more maybe obvious would be the right word, ways that I'm doing it. So I know how to sing in Cree. So I offer that to my Cree patients as a touch point of their culture and something familiar and normal. I am learning how to use drumming and traditional instruments in the therapeutic space. So those are a couple of more less ideological and more tangible ways that I'm doing that. It's a big conversation.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you so much for so articulately describing your work and your way with music therapy there in Saskatoon.
Thanks, Kevin.